Well, we're back, second semester, and I know it's tough. It's tough for all of us. But you've got one semester finished, and here we are rounding the curve and heading home. So you can do this. And it's a clean slate. So this semester is all brand new, and you have no grades right now. So going forward, you put your best foot, and it'll be fine. Put forth effort, ask me questions if you need help. Don't assume I always notice it, but I'm here for you. So you have to keep that in mind. Just come to me if you need any help, if you have questions, anything like that. I don't want you to be behind. I want you to do well, and I want you to stay on task and get everything in on time. So keep that in mind, that I'm here for you. We're going to start with argument. Argument and persuasion kind of goes hand in hand. And we're going to start by looking at Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous speech, I Have a Dream. Keep in mind that Martin Luther King Jr. wrote this speech in 1963, which was a great year, because that was the year of my birth. So it was a great year. All right. It was a long time ago as well. I know. That's what you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, Miss Balzo, you were born a long time ago, and I was. And that speech was written a long time ago, 1963. But keep this in mind, too. He wrote that speech because he really wanted jobs and freedom and equal rights for his race, for the Black people, for the Negroes of that time. And 100 years before that, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. 100 years ago, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, and still, in 1963, Blacks were not being treated equally. They were being segregated. They were seeing signs that would say white person's drinking fountain or restrooms, Black person's drinking fountain or restrooms. What's up with that? Restaurants that wouldn't serve people if they were Black, hotels that would not give rooms to people if they were Black, jobs that were not available for people who were Black. And pay was definitely not equal. So if a Black person and a white person had the same job, they didn't receive the same pay. This is not fair. And that's all Martin Luther King Jr. was saying. It's time for us to get what we deserve. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, something that was signed in the Declaration of Independence 200 years prior to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. 200 years prior to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. In the shadows of the Lincoln Memorial and the March to Washington, our forefathers said everyone is created equally, and yet we weren't treating the Black race equally. And so that's all he was asking for, is equality, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, justice for all, for all. That's what he was asking for. And we're going to look at that speech, and we're going to look at his arguments, and we're going to look at his strategies for persuasion to get people to listen to him and to get action without using violence, without following the footsteps of the Black Panthers of that time and using violence. He was asking for it peacefully. And that's what we're going to look at. So we're going to look at his speech. We're going to look at his strategies of persuasion and the arguments he was making. And we're going to be doing some projects that go along with it. So some of the things that you want to think about when you're thinking of argument, and you might want to write these down. So if you want to grab a notebook, go ahead. But you want to think of your claims. Claim. What is your claim? What do you want to see happen? What are your reasons for this argument? And then you have to have evidence to support those claims, to support your reasons. And that evidence could be facts, statistics, data, credible quotes from credible people, credible stories that defend what your claim is saying, what your reason is in your argument. So you have claims and you have reasons. You also have to think about the counterclaim. Like, what would your opposing viewpoint be? What would somebody say to oppose your claim? Be aware of those counterclaims so that you can then have a rebuttal to such counterclaims. And a rebuttal would be your reasons why that claim is not legit, why it's not a good claim, or why yours is better, and why your evidence is better that supports your claim or your reason. So those are some key terms that you want to keep in mind as we go forth looking at argument. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good evening.